think we got something. But I hope everybody out there lets me know if this thing is working, if it's on, if it's good, if it's no good. I don't know. I'm going to have to check with Siri from time to time to see if I'm making out all right. So let's find out what's going on here. Let's see. Let's see if it's even working. I hope it is. I think it is. I mean, I'm not really sure, but let me turn this one off. And then hopefully this will all be set up and we're good to go. Now, I'm not sure, but let's check it out. Let's see on YouTube, right? If everybody has some sound and if this thing is working, please, I hope somebody out there lets me know so that this way I don't have to keep jumbling things. I think it's all right. I think we're all right. Loud and clear. So everybody let me know out there. I should be live on Facebook. I should be live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And I think it should be good. I think the volume on the mic is all right. I think the picture looks good. I got it all centered in there correctly. It looks really clear. So I think that's good. So you'll just have to let me know out there if this is working or if it's not working or so on and so on and so on. But I think I got some good responses. I think everybody said I'm live and the sound is good. Now you have to forgive me too, because this is like I'm operating this whole thing from right here at the tabletop, basically staring at that big screen television on the wall over there, and I can see the volume levels. I can see everything going out to the live feeds. So I hope it's all working. And I think we're good to go. So somebody will also have to let me know about Facebook and Twitter. I just want to make sure I'm on. So if I'm on Facebook Live and everybody's good to go and they can hear the sound, just give me a thumbs up or some shit or something, and let me know about Twitter too. So I'm gonna text John about Facebook and Twitter. Make sure I'm on all the platforms to make sure that. And you know what's funny? I had to call Johnny to let him know. To ask him some questions and jot down a few notes here. And I don't know if anybody could see that, but I can. And that's all that really matters, if I could see it. But let's get this thing started, okay, everybody? Hey, how's it going out there? It's your boy from Brooklyn, Shannon Ambrosio, just saying what's up. It's another Sunday and the Everything and Nothing podcast. Of course, last Sunday was the kickoff of the new season. And I hope everybody watched or is going to watch and has shared and subscribed and the whole 9 yards. Now, that really helps. So I'm going to have to title all this I'm going to have to title this podcast later on after I get everything all dialed in, because my main concern was making sure that I got on here, I was live, and then I had the ability to do the podcast. Very important to me going forward that I try and make sure that I'm getting on Sundays and making sure that I stay as consistent as I possibly can with this whole thing. And so Johnny said Facebook is running, so I think that's okay, which is pretty cool. And I would just have to, Johnny's just going to have to check the Twitter for me and make sure that that's all working too. So then I know at least the three platforms that I'm trying to do the live feed on are working. So how is everybody out there? How's the YouTube feed? Is the video looks really good. I think it looks a little bit crisp. I kind of changed a few settings, and like I said, from now on, because the studio, and I know everybody has been watching my social media feeds and seeing the progress on the studio, and finally it's done. The studio looks absolutely fantastic. Everything is good to go. And that is really what the title of this podcast is going to be, which is What's Next? What's next? So not only for myself, but for everybody else that's out there as well. What's next? there's a lot that's been going on just in general. I mean, for everybody. And I'm not just talking about local, right? And we're not just talking about here in the United States. I'm talking about the globe itself, right? The planet we live on is a big place, and it's called Earth, in case everybody doesn't know. The world doesn't just exist around your little neighborhood or what have you. I mean, I'd like to think that the whole world revolved around Brooklyn, where I'm from, but we all know that's not possible. But everybody, I think, has this same thought process lately, and that is basically, what's next? What's next for work? What's next for what type of work? What's next for education-wise, because of what's happening to the schools lately, opening and shutting and opening and shutting. How is everybody going to be dealing with what's next for them? And basically what's next in the next progression step for what I'm doing and basically the studio itself, right? So there's a couple of things on what's next. And please, by all means, chime in at any point on YouTube. I really can't watch the Facebook thing really good. I'm not seeing anything on Twitter, but I have never checked it out on there. So Johnny, not too sure about Twitter, but if anybody else is following me on Twitter, and this is supposed to be going live on Twitter as well, hit me up on the YouTube comments. Let me know if this thing is working. Let me know so that this way, I might have to make an adjustment or something, or somehow or some way, and figure out something else. And basically, what's next? So I'm going to have a few call to actions for everybody out there. If you've been watching and following me and seeing the progress and understanding what I'm trying to do here, is basically two things. One was to have my YouTube channel, actually not just my YouTube channel, but my podcast itself grow. And it has. The viewership has grown. The different types of guests I have on here has grown. The ability to what I can do here has grown immensely over the first time I actually did a podcast in my dining room with Tuna. So everything has changed drastically. And I'm sure everything for everybody else has changed drastically in the last year itself. So basically, what's next? Here's what's next for me and for what's happening here. The idea of growing the Everything and Nothing podcast is very important to me. I was telling everybody two reasons. One is because I think everybody has a voice and everybody should be heard according to what they would like their message to be conveyed as. I think everybody should have that opportunity. And in this day and age, with the technology and the advancements and everything we have, we all do have that ability. How you carry that message and how you carry yourself, that's totally up to you. What you do with it is your business, not mine, nor do I want to know. That's the second part. I mean, the first part. And then the second part is growing this ability to have my studio, which is ENN Studios now, have the ability to rent the studio for anybody else who would like to podcast, who wants to get into podcasting, who maybe wants a studio space to maybe shoot a commercial, I don't know, do a book reading, voiceover, whether it be an audio podcast, whether it be an audio and video podcast, whether you would like to come in and use the space to film something, whether you'd like to come in and use the space to, I don't know, do, I'm going to have the ability. You'll have the ability to work in the studio to do many things. One, podcast. Two, to use the studio space for anything you think you would like to film, whether it be video and audio or just video. Whatever it is that you think you may need, the space is here. And then the third part of that is the studio expansion is going to grow too. So as far as equipment goes, I have equipment already. So there's plenty of microphones here. There are plenty of different locations inside the studio for you to podcast or shoot a scene or do something that you're thinking about doing for filming. That's the other part of it. And I'm also going to be growing this studio. So inside the garage is everybody, because I know everybody is following me on my social media, which is at Shannon Ambrosio, and I'm Shannon Ambrosio at everything because that's who I am. So basically at Shannon Ambrosio on all the social media, the big ones, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, of course, which is where this podcast lives. And I have Snap and I have WhatsApp. I don't know if anybody uses them anymore. I don't even really use them, so I couldn't tell you. But this week, too, I'm also going to be doing the whole TikTok thing. I'm going to try and get into that whole TikTok. I got to start posting over there. Stay relevant, folks. And I say that to everybody out there, too, right? The younger generations, you already know this. You're basically staying relevant. Social media and communicating through social media has a big impact on everybody's life at this point. And the younger generations seem to understand that by now. Seasoned folks, we tend to get a little discouraged and what have you. But I say this to everybody, is that you have to stay relevant in this day and age, especially in this day and age, because of the way media is and the way messages being sent around the entire globe is through social media now, whether you want to believe it or not, okay? The age of television and movies, as we have seen and are seeing now, are slowly but surely going away. The idea of the sitcom is not going to live on a television anymore. Basically, they're going to be, put on platforms, and you'll be able to, Hulu, whatever it is that you're using, Netflix, Hulu, Apple TV, whatever it is that you're going to be doing, you're going to be watching them on those platforms. So you need to get, all you seasoned folks out there, you need to get familiar with what's going on and how things are operating nowadays. Very, very important. And if you want to communicate with your younger generations, this is the way you're going to be doing it, whether you like it or not. So that's the long and short of it. But the call to action and what's next for here is that I'm going to be slowly but surely, pushing out this idea of the studio's ability to be rented for broadcasting, whether it be recording ahead of time for a podcast or what have you, or filming a scene or filming anything here. You can record here and then play back later on, or you can rent the studio to do a live stream, very much like what I do every week, which I absolutely love. We all know that the idea of the message through the podcast is growing rapidly. So if you're getting your information, a lot of times we used to think and rely on the news every night at certain times. But we all know that stations and networks and stuff, sometimes they have a little bit of a hidden agenda. So the idea of the news that they're pushing out there may not be the same view as yours, and that's why people are starting to turn to social media and mostly podcasting to get their news. It's up to you as the individual to check, to fact check, and do all those things. And the reason I'm bringing that up now is because of what happened with Joe Rogan with Spotify. Not saying one is right, wrong, or indifferent on either side. All I'm saying is that when you get your news and you get your information, unless you are there, present, at the time that this news is happening, is the only way you are going to know if any of it is actually fact. That's the truth. You're really never going to know unless you were the person in the room or the fly on the wall. Just don't get swatted, if you understand what I mean. So do yourself a favor. And here's the thing that we all have the ability to do, and that's think for ourselves. So make sure you're doing that. That part is kind of important. You got to be doing the thinking for yourself, because just because you heard it from somewhere doesn't necessarily mean it's 100% factually true. And I'm not saying that it's not true. What I'm saying is that you need to check for yourself. It's up to you as the individual to figure everything out on your own for whatever it may be, if you really want to know. And that's the truth, right? So that's the truth beyond all the truths. And I got grapes today because I'm a little hungry. Not a plug for Hershey bars, but I love chocolate bars and peanut butter cups. Peanut butter cups. I love peanut butter, so that's how that comes about. So these are the things going forward that I'm going to try and help everybody understand, is that the things that are on my podcast, okay, I will try and make them as factual and 100% as I possibly can be, from myself or through the guests I have on my podcast. But again, I implore you people out there, and I give you this notion that you should believe what you find out to be factual. You shouldn't always believe everything else that's out there. And like I said, big shout out to Joe Rogan, because here's a man who has guests on and talks about a lot of different topics at various times. There's no way one individual could know everything. So don't hold everybody so stringent and accountable for everything exactly. It's not possible. It's the telephone call, right? By the time the telephone call gets to the last person, the story has changed a little bit. Is the idea of the story still the same? Always yes. Little Red Riding Hood wanted to bring a basket to her grandma. What happened from the time she left the house to how she actually got to grandma's house? It's all open for interpretation. That's all I got to say. Because you never know unless you really know. And that's the truth. So if you, like I said, you ain't in the room and you weren't there and you weren't part of the conversation and you don't know what happened, you can only go on what you think is the right thing about the whole situation. But it's probably not 100% wrong. It's probably, more than 60% correct. But you know the old adage, right? Believe 75% of what you see and only 25% of what you hear if you weren't there. So that's kind of like the adage, right? So if somebody says something, you don't necessarily have to believe it, but you got to take so much of it with a grain of salt, because you never know. And that's the truth right there. So Joe Rogan, listen to me, dude. Keep doing what you're doing. It don't matter. 1 or 2 people or the 10 people on Spotify want to have friggin', their own opinions on, censoring what you have to say and so on and so forth. What I got to say about that is that's totally up to you. How you decide and what you decide to do is yours. You own that. That's for you to make a decision. And the same thing with everybody else out there. It's up to you to make that decision. Folks out there, if you're working for Spotify and you don't like what he has to say and you don't like the people he has on his show, you can and feel free, just like everybody else, every other individual, don't listen. That's simple. There's no other way to put it. You don't listen. And if you don't like working for Spotify or whatever the case may be, don't work for them. That's, again, your choice. People, we are all individuals. We get to decide what we want to do, what we don't want to do, who we want to listen to, who we don't want to listen to. Que sera, sera, sera. And that's from young to old. And that's the truth. We all make our own choices and our own decisions of what we want to do. So if you don't like what he has to say, or in my case, if you don't like what I have to say, turn it off. It's that easy. Don't watch. Don't listen. Don't subscribe. Just don't. But if you want, and that's the problem, I think, with a lot of people, is that they want to have their own say after something else is done already, right? It's kind of shitty, Joe Rogan, because the idea is that, and I say this a lot, it's a saying that I have, and that's, everybody loves the big grizzly bear when they get to see him from afar, but everybody likes the bear until he has to be a bear, and then nobody likes the bear anymore. So, Joe, keep doing what you're doing. And to all my other podcasters out there, keep doing what you're doing. All the people that are sending the messages in the ways that they're sending them, keep doing what you're doing. Eventually, you'll be heard. Eventually, it'll set itself straight. And that's the truth. Doesn't matter what anybody says from here until doomsday. The truth and the facts are what they are. You can't dispute them and you can't change them. And that's kind of like my message for that whole thing. And as far as what I'm doing here, the idea is that I really enjoy what I'm doing. This goes back to the first part of what's next. The genuine curiosity I have for people, what makes them tick, why they do what they do, what they do, and how they do it and when they do it. It's important. I think everybody has this notion that we're all like destined. The whole idea that you can't change this and change that. Nah, you can. Everything can be changed. There's a philosophy that I have, and that's the only constant in life. This is the truth. The only constant there is change. It's inevitable. Today is nothing like yesterday, and tomorrow will be nothing like today. I don't care how mundane you think your routine is. Like, you get up every day, I make a cup of coffee, I get dressed, and I go to work. Even if you take the same road every day, even if you wore the same clothes every day, your timing would never be exactly the same. The variables that happen in everybody's life is what makes the change. The bus didn't come on time. The train didn't come on time. My car didn't start. I put a shirt on and there was a hole in it. I had to change it. All these variables take place in everybody's life, which means that the only constant in life is change, because we can't make anything the same twice. It's most likely highly unlikely, plausible in daily life. I'm not talking about inanimate objects either. I'm not talking about, yes, this wrapper is made the same by a machine every single time it makes it. But believe it or not, it may not, because maybe not every wrapper goes on exactly the same in every instance. It's just not possible. So that's why I would say, what's next for you doesn't always have to be the same thing that you think it is. It could be different. It can change. Things do evolve. People do evolve. Situations evolve. We're seeing it wholeheartedly, and we are seeing it right in front of our faces today, yesterday, the day before. Back in March when all this happened, it was kind of a really weird place for all of us at the time. And it hasn't really, I don't think it's really come to a head yet. And I don't think everybody understands, even me included, understands the magnitude of how much is going to change. And that's the truth. So for all you people out there who are not sure if they know what's next for them, it's okay. A lot of people don't. And it's okay to be a little apprehensive now. And it's okay to be a little standoffish for things. But it's going to change. Just like it changed to what it is now, it'll eventually change to what's next. And nobody knows. But whatever it is that's going to happen, it will happen. And we can't stop it. But that's why I say to you out there, get ready for what's next, no matter what it is. You can't prepare yourself for everything. We know that. This whole thing really proved it to us. In my lifetime, is that the situation, that's what happened with COVID and schools closing and people protesting and all these other things, nobody can predict these things. You just can't. People can say, oh, they saw it coming. Oh, well, this sign left us to that sign and this sign left us to that sign. I don't have anything else to say except for you can't predict the future. Nobody can. Not even Nostradamus. I don't care how many times you read that book. This is what I got to say to people who do predictions. The GOAT has spoken, folks. That's the truth. I don't like the idea that people say, I told you so, I saw it coming. Listen to me. We don't see the signs until we see the signs. That's the truth, right? But this is my immediate call to action for everybody out there. I want to continue to do this. And I enjoy doing it. I love the idea of sharing my experiences. I love sharing the experiences of other people on my podcast. I enjoy creating content, which is me building things, fixing things, creating things. I enjoy it a lot. I hope, and this is my call to action for everybody out there. Please subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, right? If you don't like the video, you got the choice. That's what I'm saying. You got the choice. Don't give me too many thumbs down, though, because I'll have to come find you. I can do it through the analytics and the back end of this thing. I'll find out where you are. Now, just joking. Or am I? But that's what's going on. And I know I'm going to try and get on this podcast thing a lot earlier. The greatest thing now was that Johnny and I have been working on this thing feverishly. And a big shout out to my boy Johnny for helping. And anybody else has given a little bit of effort and helped me get this, which wasn't much, which wasn't many people. But anyway, sometimes you just got to take the burden on yourself, and that's just how it is. There's no two other ways about it. If you want to do something, big shout out to Gary Vee, Casey Neistat, and all these guys. You got to do it yourself sometimes. Joe Rogan too. Joey Coco Diaz, my boy out there. I'm hoping, listen, Joey, here's another call to action. I know you close. You're in Jersey. You're near me. You need a spot. You want somebody to help do your podcast and free up some of that time for you. Come here down to my studio, dude. You're right here in Jersey. Come down to the studio and let's do a podcast. And then you can use the studio and do what you want. But anyway, I really like the idea of doing this a lot. It really puts me in a comfortable place. I hope you folks out there are enjoying the content. And like I said, if you are, great. Give a thumbs up. You know what I mean? Like that. If not, give a thumbs down. That's okay too. Leave a comment. You want to see something or I said something that maybe wasn't factual? By all means, leave a comment. I mean, I'm probably not going to give you a public apology like Joe Rogan did because I didn't get paid $100 million by Spotify. So I don't know if it really fucking matters. So, that's kind of like my second thought process on that one right there. Pay me $100 million. I'm going to do a public apology. I don't care what anybody says, right? Those are true words right there. Don't be hating on Joe. You understand what I'm saying? He's moved the podcast in places that nobody could even thought of. Pioneer. You understand? It's nice to criticize, but he's the pioneer. So all you folks out there don't like what he's got to say. All you people want to protest on Spotify. If it wasn't for him, you folks out there wouldn't have a job. So get lost. That's what I got to say about that. But the content I can't keep the content coming and creating things without a little bit of help from you guys. So, again, call to action. Subscribe. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs down. Leave a comment. Share my videos. Go on my social media. I'm on all of them at Shannon Ambrosio. Follow. Subscribe. Share. And I'm telling everybody out there, you got something interesting to talk about, find a way to get it out there. You could use my studio. That's a good way to get this thing going. You heard? And I will be, like I said, this will be rolling out as the weeks, as the year comes to an end. I will be rolling all these things out, right? So I'll have up on my social media, so on the YouTube. Eventually, I'm going to have a website, ENN Studios. The Everything and Nothing podcast will have a website as well. And a place where I'm going to be starting to sell some swag. We'll get some cool shit out there. Again, anybody got some ideas? We're going to be doing this, right? So me and Terry and Andreas was here and Mikhail was here, and we talked about boxing, hence all the background here. So if you have a sports podcast you want to do, right? Come here. Put up some sports memorabilia right here. It could be football. It could be baseball. It could be the fight game. It could be anything. Race cars. I mean, anything. I'm going to try and get some race car buddies up on this show. Everybody saw last week I posted with when I did the pace car with Mario Andretti in the Grand Prix in Watkins Glen. Big shout out to Kathy and Connor Daly, a friend of mine, and Mario Andretti, another friend of mine. So And I call these people friends because when people greet you with open arms and you hold a conversation and you continue to have conversations with them, they become friends. And that's how it works, right? Hence what I do here on the podcast. And that's creating an open platform for people to talk and communicate. That's important. You heard? Now, I know I don't have any flashy guests on here. Nobody from ESPN, nobody from Brooklyn MMA is here today. But your boy from Brooklyn, Shannon Ambrosio, is trying to help spread these messages about being heard and about people having a voice to, you know, to have it heard, to give it a place to live, so that people have something to refer back to, and so you can feel good about expressing yourself. It's just important. Here or anywhere, doesn't matter where you do it. It would be nice if you did it here at the ENN Studios. Help your boy out a little bit. But it's not hard to set up a podcast. You can do it anywhere. You could do it in the living room of your house with a smartphone. It's that simple. So if you have something you want to say, or you want to express, you know, your opinion about something, everybody has the same platform. You can. Don't go out there criticizing everybody too much. If you don't like what they have to say, again, I said this before, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. You just don't want to go walking around with your asshole out. You understand what I mean? So if you feel that strongly about something, then you know, a lot of times you can express yourself, but not everybody has to listen. So get out there, talk to somebody, speak to an audience, do whatever you have to do. But it's a great way to feel relief if you're feeling bogged down about something, or you're not, you know, if you don't feel that you're being heard, and sometimes you just want to talk about something. You know, a podcast or doing something like this is a great way to get that outside, right? To get that feeling that's been inside you all bottled up out. You know, a lot of people don't have that. And a lot of times when you go into a crowd, if they don't have the same feelings as you about what your opinion is, they tell you to shut the fuck up and keep going. But here's a platform that allows you to do that, you know, and as long as you're not really bashing somebody that bad, you know, say what you want to say, feel how you want to feel. That's the idea, and that's the great thing about being here and living here in this country too, is that you have this ability to do these things, you know. There's not many places. I hate to say this, folks, but I'm bringing this to your attention. We are the last democracy on this planet, in this country. I'd hate to see it go away. Freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedoms upon freedoms, freedoms to go to the store until before all this and buy a roll of toilet paper. Is just an abundance of freedoms that we have here, and I don't know if everybody recognizes them. But anyway, it's nice to go to the store and buy a Hershey bar, and it's not $75. Just food for thought there, folks. But my podcast today is all about what's next. And that's what's next for your boy from Brooklyn, Shannon Ambrosio. Besides just being a hard worker in general, I really enjoy the time I spend here with you guys. I really enjoy the time I get when I'm creating things and building things and discovering new things. You know, a lot of people out there, I don't know if you know, I have a United States government patent. I'm recognized as a designing and utility engineer in the United States, because sometimes you have to take an idea that you have in your head or a thought you have in your head and create what's next. How far you take it, that's up to you. You know, again, choices that we make and the freedoms we have here. Choices, folks. And that's what's next for your boy from Brooklyn, Shannon Ambrosio. And what's really next is the value of the ENN studio space, creating the space so that other people can come and talk, or, you know, or do something else in the studio. I don't know. And please, no porn. Thanks. Not saying we all don't enjoy a little bit every once in a while. Just saying I don't want it done here in my studio. Thank you. But that being said, let them eat grapes. You know, what's next for you, folks? What's next on the agenda for everybody out there? What are your plans? Here's the idea, right? Is that I think the work fields that are out there, some of them will stay true. We all know that. A lot of them are changing. A lot of people are working from home now. So what's next for you? Do you have a way for you to generate an income if workspaces keep closing down? How are you going to do that? What's next for you? Have you finally decided that maybe there's something you were thinking about doing and you're already now like, okay, now's my time? Or are you just sitting back thinking, oh my goodness, doom and gloom? Don't be that one. That one right there gets the goat. Don't be that one. Figure out what's next for you. You know what I mean? So listen to me. I know I always do this. And it's the end of another wonderful, excuse me, let me finish eating my grape here. And this is a short one today because no guests and Thomas. And let me read some comments here. So if you're making a comment, please go over to my YouTube channel because I can't watch the Facebook and the YouTube at the same time, I don't think. Let me see if I can get the Facebook thing up here. Let's see where I am. I wonder if I could watch my live feed. Oh, yeah. Okay, so here it is. And there's not many comments on there. Hey, Darlene, how are you? Hey, Darlene helped me out this morning. I wanted to go into, because she works, she manages the Starbucks over not too far from me. And I went over there this morning, and they're on point over there because I walked into the Starbucks, and I had the mask in my hand, and I just didn't get a chance to put it on. As soon as I walked through the door, somebody yelled at me, "You're supposed to have your mask on." And I was like, I held the mask up, and they're like, "No, you're supposed to put it on before you walk in." So they got mad at me. So I guess that's the message now. When you walk into an establishment, you should have the mask on as soon as you go in there, no matter how many people are in there. So that's the message for everybody out there. Whether you wear a mask, again, your choice. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. Second part of that is hello to everybody out there who's been watching, subscribing, and following. Very, very important. So let's see what we got on the YouTube there. So I'm very curious for everybody out there. What's next for you, right? And here's why I was, what's next for me in the studio vibe and the podcast. The podcast is an ongoing thing for me. I really enjoy doing it. The ENN Studios has to grow. It has to grow. It has to develop into a business. And that's just the long and short of it. That's the reason I spent all this time and financial and all the schkadols here to build this entire studio and to get this thing up and running. So it has to start generating an income of some kind, not just for the fact that, I'm trying to figure out what's next for me, but also because, I'm just trying to recoup a few bucks for all the money I spent here. But that's the truth right there. Anybody tells you different, it's just full of shit. And that's what's happening. But I'm very curious to everybody. Leave a comment in the comments below, whether it's on Facebook or whether it's on YouTube or whether it's on Twitter. What's next for you? What are your plans? What happens when this job market goes crashing? What happens when we all have to be confined to certain areas and we're not free to move around the country anymore? I don't know about that. But everybody out there, leave a comment. And I'm asking everybody again one more time before I get off, and that's listen to me and subscribe to my channel. Get your bell rung if you're on YouTube. Ring that bell so you get notified when I'm on, when the podcast is happening. Follow me on all my social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm on all the other ones too. I'm going to get on TikTok this week too. I got to figure that out. That'll be the next thing that I'll be working on. And most importantly, if you're looking for a space to do a podcast, please consider ENN Studios. It's up and fully functioning, whether you just want to do an audio podcast, whether you want to do an audio and video podcast, and if you want to live stream. Believe it or not, this studio, I set up my studio ahead of time, kind of like some, foresight. and not foreskin, you crazy people out there. And Johnny and I were talking a little while ago, and even he suggested, like, he made a comment to me that was very, forward thinking of myself to make sure that I set up the studio to do the live broadcasting. So that's another reason why I like Joe Rogan so much too, is because his YouTube channel, not YouTube anymore, now he's on Spotify, his podcast, let's just say, is a live thing. So it's natural, it's organic, it happens. And that's why those things happen sometimes. You don't fact check everything 100%, but don't hold the guy accountable. It's not necessary. It's unnecessary. And that's what ENN Studios is going to be all about. So ENN Studios, you're going to be able to do anything you want here. I'm going to set up, I'm a chef as well, so I'm going to be doing some cooking here during podcasts at some point too. So I'm going to be setting up a station that's going to be very much like this, where it's going to have, you're going to have the ability to cook in here. So that if you want to do small videos of you cooking some stuff in here, I'll have some induction burners, I'll have the whole thing. It's going to be a great setup here. You're going to be surprised. And I'll build that again. Just if you want something, you don't see it, make it happen. Build it yourself. Do it yourself. And that's what's up right there, DIY. And I think that's it. That's a mouthful, folks. I'm going to try and get some more of these. This is my favorite. The Screaming Goat. And there's the Screaming Goat. That's the box that comes in and everything, right? And eventually when Johnny's here and he's, more full-time engineering here, at least on Sundays when I do the podcast, we'll be setting up more things, during the podcast. So doing the live broadcast, which I love, the software that I use here allows me, and again, you'll see it coming up soon on the next couple of podcasts. I'll have like the watermarks on my screen where you'll be able to see the Everything and Nothing podcast watermark and the ENN Studios watermark and so on and so forth. But also during the podcast, and remember this, folks, this is streaming live. So I'll have the ability to pull up articles, show pictures, all these things. This studio has the ability to do all of that if you want to do it. If you want to, come record here, video or audio and video, and then edit, at another time for yourself, and then you post it whenever you want, you can do that too. But once Johnny's here, we'll be offering those services as well. So you'll be able to do he'll be able to do the editing and so on and so forth for you. I do editing as well, but I'm not as good as John is. But anyway, so we're going to be putting that up soon, right? So remember this. Call to action at the end of this podcast. Subscribe. Hit the like button if you like it. Hit the thumbs down button if you don't like it. Leave a comment. Let me know what's next for you. On Facebook, do the same, right? So leave a comment. Let me know what's next for you. Let's think about these things. And most of all, talk about it. That's a great way to start. Let's talk about it. So I'm gone. I've said enough. Follow me on my social media. At Shannon Ambrosio. I'm on all the social medias. Just look for them. You'll find them. And don't forget, Screaming Goat gets the last word today. Now you know my message, right? And that's every day is a good day. And if you give a smile, you gonna get a smile. So let's see if I can get the mouse back up on here. Let's see. There we go. All right, so there we go. So, let's see. You know my message. Let's try this one more time. I'm trying to get everything queued up. So I'm running the podcast, doing the switchboard today, and I'm making sure that everything goes right. And it's a lot to do in one day. It's a lot to do all in one day for the podcast. But listen to me, folks. Every day is a good day. And if you give a smile, you're going to get a smile. Give a bunch of them smiles out there, folks. We all need them. It's a wonderful, wonderful day outside. Enjoy yourselves, folks.